Hello and welcome to the NBA Outlet presented by OTGBasketball.com. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Kory Waldron, regular guest on the show, too, Jac Manuell. What's up, Jac? What's up, Kory?
Very well, lads. Happy weekend. Let's talk some ball.
I just got my pump in, and I'm feeling a little jacked.
Oh, that was a good one.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it. And, I mean, if it was anyone else, Kory, I'd virtually punch you in the face. I love you too much, my friend.
I'm only good for corny puns. That's all I got.
You're very punny, sir. You're very punny.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you're all feeling super. But before we get started, just a reminder, you can listen to the NBA Outlet on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, and Google Play. But to start the podcast today, we're going to do a little bit of a layup line, some quick hits. First things first, what were your thoughts on James Harden ripping out Wesley Johnson's soul with that stare down?
Is Wesley? Have they had the funeral yet, guys? Like, is it in LA? Have they set a date? It was the fact that I love the analysis of it from so many different outlets about like what was the best part. Was it the fact that James Harden waited like a full in slow motion? It was like 6 seconds. In real time, it was still like 2 seconds. Was it the fact that he like licked his beard? Like he literally licked his lips and licked his beard, watching a man sitting on the floor crumbling apart. Was it the fact that Wesley Johnson's just like, oh, I can't help but laugh at this? Or was it the fact that Miloš is like, I'm gonna throw some token defense in here? Like there was so many elements to it, and like I mean the memes were aplenty as well. But it was one of the moments of the season, and the fact that Harden was always going to nail the shot, but it was just one of the most disrespectful moves, probably since the one where Steph Curry had Chris Paul like dancing and having that one. That was probably one of the best crossovers since that. And I think there was a WNBA or a women's college ball one that's been making the rounds as well. So plenty of crossovers happening, and it's always good fun to watch.
I mean, yeah, the stare down was obviously like soul crushing. It's like one of those moments where like, you know, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking through you. Like he was literally just soul crushing Wesley Johnson. I mean, Wesley Johnson, you know, he didn't really get crossed. I said that it was kind of an offensive foul. I mean, he lowered his shoulder into Wesley Matthews' chest. I mean, that's none of my business. Even still, it was obviously a crazy move. And then the fact that he stood there staring at him. I know, what's his name? Mike Perez Wob or whatever, the guy who does like all the videos.
Worldwide Wob.
He had one where he put up like 30 seconds of Harden standing at the line and just played like the Jeopardy music going do do do, and it was funny. But that's what it felt like, dude. Yeah, I'm sure for Wesley Matthews, that 5 seconds lasted about 35 seconds in his mind.
It was an eternity.
Yeah, definitely tough. Crossover of the year?
Easily. Crossover of the decade almost. Like they did like whole podcasts about it, like on ESPN. Like literally they were doing an entire podcast, and like they posed the question, and I'll pose it to you because there was some Twitter polls going around. And I'm sure the people would like to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think is more disrespectful, guys? Like if you're playing some pickup ball and, you know, a guy crosses you up, you end up like Wesley Johnson. Or you get destroyed like, say, Lauri Markkanen against Jared Allen. What's more deflating? What's more soul-crushing, soul-destroying for you guys?
I would say crossover, to be honest, because like getting dunked on most of the time, you're out of position. Where like Lauri Markkanen in that play, like he was just kind of screwed. He was never going to do anything. Where so like when you get crossed up, you're usually trying to lock somebody down. Like, you know, you don't get crossed up playing lazy defense. You get crossed up when you're like really trying to get into them. So it's like, yeah, you just put out a lot of effort and now you're on the hardwood.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Nick. I mean, I've never gotten dunked on.
Yeah, so knock on wood, I've never been dunked on.
But like, you know, I had someone almost dunk on me. Like he like elevated, and it was one of those like, wow, like if I didn't grab you, you would have killed me. But I mean, like I've been crossed my fair amount of times, and crossing is a little bit different because, you know, you get crossed up, your knees buckle, or you fall, you know, whatever happens, and then it's not even like it's the crossover. It's the reaction from the crossover. It's like everyone else watching goes, oh shit, you broke. Ah. Yeah. You're just like, yeah, uh-huh. I think it's the crossover to me is more demoralizing, especially when you end up on your ass like Wesley Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. But in other news, the Mavericks got a technical foul on Friday for only putting 4 players on the court after a timeout. Thoughts on this?
Some super tanking happening tactics right now, fellas. The fact that, generally, like most sports, you got like, 11. I'm not sure how many there are in the NFL. There's 18 on an Aussie rules football field. But like 5 guys on a basketball court. You have 5 people. It's not that hard to count. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, I feel like Kory would probably like this. They should do like the Kobe meme where he's counting his rings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they put that on like the official Mavs page, because how could you not have that? I think this was a few years ago. I think it was the Sacramento Kings owner was saying that like we wanted to experiment with having 4 on the court, and I was just like, I remember hearing that. I'm like, yeah, right. It
was like 4 on D and 1 sitting on the other end for layups.
Mellow ball. Or mellow ball.
Shade. Massive shade. But it's fair. It just doesn't make sense. And I mean, the tanking tactics are taking a new turn, that's for sure.
Actually, I'm not going to lie. I didn't know this happened. I wasn't aware of this prior. It's one of those – it's funny because, in football, you get the too many men on a field. You don't really ever hear of anything where you have not enough people on the floor. I'm curious to know who thought they were out and why they thought they were out. Like, I want to know what was going on, or like what the miscommunication was, where somebody was supposed to be in and goes, all right, I'm on the bench. And then, he's sitting there looking out, and then he's like, oh, wait, am I still in?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm really curious too. And then to make matters worse, the Bulls didn't score on the play.
I mean, does it surprise anyone that the Bulls couldn't score? But it was against the Mavs, so it's not like there was, any famed defense from like Rudy Gobert.
Hey, Mavericks are really good. All right,
I'm sure you're feeling that way.
All right.
All right. Talk about however much you want, Kory. Like they were playing against the Bulls. Like I think these are the sort of games that the Grizzlies and the Suns. Whenever we see these tanking teams, it's just like, yep, I'm going to switch off League Pass for now. I'm going to wait the hour until a playoff team is playing, because it's unwatchable. But that's obviously a discussion for another day. It's ludicrous that this can happen in not like a modern in the modern NBA. In when you have professional coaches actually going, okay, these are the substitutions. They know them off by heart, and it's like 4 players. 4. Like it just bewilders me. I can't fathom it. I'm having a real hard time processing it.
Don't have a heart attack on me, all right? You're getting a little worked up. I'm getting a little concerned.
It's scaring me. I'm like the Blinky guy, the Blinky meme. I'm like, what? Like that actually happened? And I'm sure you can think of plenty. You could do the guy who's like can't score against a 4-man lineup. Gonna get the number 1 pick. It's ridiculous.
Well, something a little bit more funny, and probably maybe the headline of the year. Cavaliers J.R. Smith was suspended 1 game for throwing soup at assistant coach Damon Jones. What were your thoughts when you read this?
Well, J.R. Smith is part of a super team now, I guess. I stole a pun from Kory.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. You said that, and I was sitting here for 1 second. I was like, a super? And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, okay. Nick and I were chatting off wax just before the pod. And Kory, have you seen what type of soup it was that's apparently been making the rounds on Cavs Twitter?
Yeah, it's my favorite soup, broccoli cheddar soup.
No! See, this has been changed, and this is by Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. So, like, he's one of the number 1 guys. That was the first one. I heard that yesterday. And, like, apparently it's come out as chicken tortilla now.
Oh.
So, broccoli cheddar or chicken tortilla, lads? Like, I prefer me a chicken tortilla. I mean, I hate broccoli. But what's worse to get thrown at you? That's the more pressing question, I guess.
Well, chicken broccoli's a little bit thicker, right?
True.
So I think you don't want that. The other one's probably more liquidy, so it's like whatever. Jack, you posed a great question to me. What do you think the soup was thrown in? Or it was just kind of tossed in the air type of thing? Or they threw the bowl, the cup? What do you think?
See, I look, the vessel for me is the important part of this, Nick. I think a lot of people are overanalyzing the flavor of the soup, and I get that. It makes sense. Like, if he had thrown a tomato soup or a gazpacho, you get that stain all over you. That's going to look bad. Or a split pea. Oh, that's going to be yuck. Cool. But, like, if it's a potato leek, you're fine. But I think...
What kind of brand of soup is this? Is this homemade soup? Is this Panera bread soup? Is it like Campbell's soup?
Panera,
was it in a bread bowl?
That's the thing.
I mean, there's a lot of questions here now.
Hot or cold?
my guess is that it's from the Cavs locker room, so the Cavs sort of cafeteria.
Yeah.
That's my educated guess here, my estimate.
I would agree.
I'm thinking, unless JR came into the facility, he stopped by Panera on the way, it could have happened. It's definitely a possibility. But like the vessel, like Kory was saying, was it a bread bowl? Was it in a plastic bowl? Was it in Tupperware? Like, what's the important thing? Like, how much of it actually got on the assistant coach Damon Jones? Was it just a light graze? Like, if he didn't get him, if he actually didn't hit him with the soup, would he have been suspended? That's the important part.
It depends, because J.R. Smith was, shooting really well, and then he got cold again, so he probably missed. Because, J.R. is really streaky, so there's no way he hit him on this current stretch.
Definitely not.
But I ask you, where does this rank in funny JR stories? Obviously, we have the Twitter beef with Chris Humphries when he told him it wasn't quiet last month when Kanye tore it up. The DMs with laying down the pipe, the Riri beef, hugging Jason Terry during a live game, shirtless JR, tweeting the Cavs in 7, then saying he was hacked. Where does this rank in JR history?
There's also the shoelaces as well, Nick.
That's what I was thinking of, yeah.
It ranks pretty highly. Like this, I got home from work, and this was literally exploding all over Twitter. This was bigger than a Woj bomb than when the Lakers made the trade with the Cavs. Like, this was all over it. And the fact that it made me so happy. Like, the world is pretty shitty, can be pretty shitty, but the fact that, like, everyone loses their minds over a bowl, a plate, or a bread bowl, whatever it is, of soup being thrown at and 2 adult men, and this is an altercation, it's wonderful. I think it ranks top 2. Like, I think the Riri thing for me is what it's got to be. Anything involving Riri is just like, it's got to be one of the best. Like Kevin Durant and Riri's feud in the finals, that was awesome. Anything with Riri, yeah. Riri's a bad bitch. Riri's a goat. Sorry for the swearing, guys, but I think it's top 2 for me.
I don't know if it's top 2. It's like
it's top 3, I think, at least.
Yeah, I mean the shoelaces in the playoffs was great. The laying the pipe, I think, is my favorite of all time.
Sliding in the DMs.
I mean, the Henny thing is possible. His love for Hennessy too kind of ranks up there.
I mean, the shirtless JR thing too. After they won the finals, like
that was awesome.
He wasn't seen with a shirt for like months.
Yeah,
like every time he was in the news, it was like shirtless JR.
He came off the plane with no shirt on.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, okay.
During the parade, then like every time you saw him, it was like, all right.
Yeah, I'm saying it's probably top 3. I would like to know more details before I rank it any higher. Like, I kind of want to know, like, what was said. Like, why did
you got to do something pretty bad to have a soup thrown at you? Like, you don't throw soup at people for no reason.
It's the line from Austin Powers. Honestly, who throws a shoe? And I think someone did a meme. Honestly, who throws a soup?
Have you guys ever thrown soup at anybody in your life?
No, but like. I've been tempted to, I always have been enraptured and been encapsulated by the old school cafeteria food fight. Like, has that ever happened at like your high school, guys?
Hell yeah! What the?
Oh, come on!
I've never seen an all-out food fight. Only time it really happened in high school. This girl like threw a thing of beans that hit my one friend, so my friend took a thing of mac and cheese and went and dumped it on her head, and then it was pretty much done.
What's worse there, the mac and cheese or the baked beans?
No, it was green beans. So,
okay, that's
so mac and cheese is a lot worse in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so my school, we were in the cafeteria, and someone stood up, opened one of those milk containers you got in school, and chucked it, and it hit a girl in the back, and then all of a sudden it just became everyone throwing food, and then they kicked us out of the cafeteria, but people brought food with them, and the food fight carried over into the hallways. The entire team or the entire people, like everyone who had lunch that period had lunch attention for like 2 weeks because of that. Like, I didn't even throw anything, and I had lunch attention for 2 weeks.
Kory's taking the fall.
Yeah, I'm a fall guy. I'm Kevin Love in this scenario.
All right, moving on. Dragon Bender last night logged 37 minutes, scored 0 points, and only took 1 shot.
That's a solid stat line, Nick. I think any of us, I think Zach Lowe posted that he became the first player since 2012 to play 36 minutes and attempt 1 or 0 shots and 0 free throws. I mean, Nick and I were chatting about this off wax. It's pretty strange for a guy like a Dragon Bender who has some capabilities. He has some athletic talent. He's not known to be like, some sort of like defensive stopper. He's not like Rudy Gobert. He's not Andre Roberson. He has some capabilities in that sense. He's a top 5 pick. So, I mean, if you're out on the court, I think it's harder not to score a basket, even if it's just like a transition, an offensive board. It's just really strange. A lot of strange use in the NBA this week. I love it.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of a couple weeks ago. Iggy played like 33 minutes or something and had 0 points and didn't even take a shot in that game. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. You don't even have to be a vocal point of an offense. But if you're on the court for 35 minutes, how are you only taking one shot? You don't feel the need to just shoot the ball like
you're probably hurting your team.
Times.
You're probably hurting your team if you're only taking one shot and you're playing 37 minutes. And like Jack said, he was drafted for his offense. Drafted to be one of these versatile bigs. So it is just a weird situation. Because like Andre Iguodala, you can get away with it. You have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. It doesn't really matter if you score. But Dragon Bender, they're looking to develop him and see what's up. So it's weird.
Yeah, definitely strange. And, they lost last night too. And I mean, I'm not saying it's his fault because they were playing a better team. But, Devin Booker was cooking. It would have been nice if somebody, didn't make him shoot every time.
All right. And then final game of the night last night, Jeff Teague decided to check Ricky Rubio, and things got a little bit fun in Minnesota and Utah.
Yes. So as for all our Aussie fans out there, this was a good old-fashioned hip and shoulder. It's basically, for those that don't know, check out some Aussie Rules AFL highlights. But it was quite like forceful as well. And I'm not sure what was better, this or the Twitter reaction from Jimmy Butler. The fact that he was ice cold on Twitter. He was like Donald Glover, unseen. But then he's out of the woodwork and tweeting, and he's creating wars with Jay Crowder. And it escalated to some really sky high proportions. But like we always love, we love the Twitter beefs.
My sleep schedule is trash. So I can't go to bed. But I was getting ready for bed, and then I just looked at my timeline, and everyone was like, "I can't get off because of Twitter beef." And I was like, "All right." I was like, "What's happening?" And then obviously I saw Jimmy Butler tweet for the first time tonight in 3 years or whatever. Like you said, Jack, he went ghost. He ghosted social media, and now he's back. And then he has those comments with Jay Crowder, and then Jay Crowder snaps back. And then I don't know if you guys saw, someone went into Jay Crowder's tweets, and they found a tweet where Jay Crowder says he likes hard fouls, and that he likes when the game's physical, and we need to keep playing physical basketball. And people were like, "Oh, really, Crowder?" I mean, the play itself, it is what it is. There's a little push. Ricky Rubio, obviously wasn't hurt. He flipped up in about 2.2 seconds, and then was ready to scrap. But it's entertaining. I like the little beef.
What do you think in terms of do you think Rubio flopped a little bit, Kory, or do you think he got really actually deserved to go down like that?
I mean, it was a little he definitely didn't help the situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
and then he got up with that really pissy looking face.
Yeah. It was one of those "Oh, you pushed me or you touched me, let me just kind of, let this carry over." It wasn't that big of a deal. And Jeff Teague.
Do you think Teague should have been ejected, or it should have just been a flagrant one?
Flagrant one. It shouldn't have been an ejection. It's a little over the top, especially because you already got some bullshit on
Towns. Yeah,
on Towns. Towns shouldn't have been ejected. So Jeff Teague is come on.
I think that's the type of thing where someone would look at the Warriors and be like, all right, Draymond does that, 5 times a game, and he doesn't get a tech every time he does it. Karl-Anthony Towns does it, and he probably was fouled on the play, and then he gets kicked out.
Yeah, double.
I saw someone tweet that the ref probably didn't know he already had a tech, and that's why he was so quick to give him one.
But that's his job.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I agree. But that's what some people are saying, that the ref probably wasn't aware that he already had a tech when he called that, or they wouldn't have called him that ticky-tacky of a tech.
I could slightly see that, but the tech wasn't that long ago, and all 3 refs had to look at the screen. So, you know what I mean? You're probably remembering. But Boston fans saw some videos this weekend. Gordon Hayward shooting and dribbling, a little bit more aggressive, no really big brace in there or anything. What are your thoughts on Gordon Hayward right now?
A tweet came out literally, minutes before we started recording, Nick. And the fact is that Brad Stevens in his presser with the media has definitively said that he's not coming back this year. So we can stop speculating, whether it's on the outlet, whether it's on JBT, whether it's on Full Access Hoops. It's over. It's a non-talking point anymore, and I think it's healthy that that's the case because we don't want to see a re-injury occur. We saw Paul George come back. He was fine. He was confident. I think Gordon Hayward just, there's no point in him coming back. There's no positive that can come out of it. Yes, Gordon Hayward playing 20 minutes is better than Daniel Tice or Semi Ojeleye playing 20 minutes. But at the same time, is that really going to elevate you to like the Western Conference, into the Eastern Conference Finals, into a championship? No. So I think it's better to keep him in Cottonwool, have him 110% going into training camp, so then he's ready to tackle next season 100% gusto.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, hey, he got the hat on backwards though. He's like, well,
That looks corny, but
why is he hiding the hair, guys? Come on, he's got one of the.
Well, no, you didn't see it. There's a video. He has the hat on backwards, and they took off the hat, by grabbing the back where the brim is. Yeah, he took it off from the front, and then he put his other hand through his hair like he's some kind of GQ model.
He's a sexy man. Come on, man. He's a very sexy man.
He's super pale, and that's coming from someone who's white, and like he looks super pale compared to all those people there. Like he needs to get out in the sun.
He's in Boston, I guess. It's not LA.
Yeah, but I think this is what you just said, Jack, is the right idea. We don't have to speculate anymore. It's over. Paul George shouldn't have came back that one year when he came back. He played like 6 games. He didn't look good. He wasn't in game shape, and the Pacers made the playoff. Well, no, we didn't make the playoffs that year.
So yeah, the Nets made it over them, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it didn't matter. For Celtics, obviously, it's different. They're going to be in the playoffs, but there's no point. Like you guys talked about off the pod, why would you bring him back just to play like 20 minutes? I mean, there's nothing he can really give this team that is going to be truly effective when they already have played almost an entire season without him. Him coming back the last week of April or coming back in the playoffs, that's not really serving the team any benefit. They don't have any reps with him. You don't want to shake the boat when you don't this team can win the East, right? We all agree they could win the East possibly.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Right. So why you add a guy who hasn't played all year to possibly ruin rotations and everything else? The best bet is just to get him healthy, get him right, let him get everything settled in, and then come back next year, better and ready than ever.
Yeah, if he was good right now and they could bring him back, he'd have, like 20 games to work in. Makes sense. But bringing back a 70% Gordon Hayward's probably not going to do much for you anyways. You need 100% to really make a big difference. So just wait on that. But we're going to throw in a little bit of Brooklyn buzz juice in here for Jack and I. So article came out yesterday that the Brooklyn Nets have received the most bad calls or non-bad calls in the last 2 minutes of games within 3 points. 29 of them compared to Orlando Magic only having 8. Jack, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's validating, Nick. It shows that we're not going crazy. Us Nets fans, us Nets Twitter pundits, we're not just throwing shade at the refs without due course. We know what we're talking about, and I think it's sort of and we mentioned this on the Brooklyn Buzz, and make sure you guys subscribe to it on iTunes and check it out on Blog Talk Radio. The fact that we're not getting the calls because we don't have the superstars. You guys mentioned earlier the fact that Karl Anthony Towns, in comparison to a Draymond Green, is the Golden State Warriors. They get all the calls. Well, the Brooklyn Nets are not even in Minnesota's league. Spencer Dinwiddie and Andre Iguodala were 2 of the only players at that at that referee meeting in LA during the All-Star break. So, Spencer Dinwiddie is at least showing some impetus to try and mend the relationship, but he's one of the guys that's been getting the most horrible calls. He's starting to get a bit of a reputation around the league now with his increased play. But as a team, we're getting bugger all, and I think it hurts because we had goals as Nets fans, and I'm sure internally as well, that they would have liked to have a few extra wins on the board, and I'm sure that it would have been a minimum of 2 extra wins if those calls go our way. But as well, I think it was Anthony Puccio who tweeted out that it wasn't just Nets fans that were upset about this. The Nets coaching staff and internally, I'm guessing the front office as well, would have been furious. and it was a great article by I think it was Chris Haynes or Chris Herring, whoever it was.
Herring, yep.
Chris Herring from 538. They do some great stuff. So at least it shows, Nick, that we are woke in that sense. We're not losing our minds, and we're not biased in any way.
You're losing your mind. But yeah, no. After you retweeted that, Nick, I was startled, and that's a huge number of missed calls and non-calls made. Obviously, I can't relate because my Pacers were in the
opposite end.
The complete opposite spectrum of that bad call list. Yeah, I mean, especially for, like you mentioned, Jack, there's no star power truly right now in Brooklyn. Guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, from the few times I've watched the Nets, certain guys for the Nets just don't get calls. And Spencer drives pretty aggressively. Jared Allen at times gets banged down low. A lot of these guys, they don't get calls. And it's just the Brooklyn it's just the aura around Brooklyn, right? Everyone knows Brooklyn's not a playoff contender, even though, as me and Nick had in the preview, we had hopes they could be a playoff contender. There's just no love in Brooklyn. There's no love for the Brooklyn boys. Referees obviously don't look in their favor, and they give everyone else the benefit of the doubt. Why that happens, I'm not sure. I'm sure Adam Silver will have some kind of conversation with referees about probably being more fair. Because if you look at actually, though, the bottom 5 teams, I believe, in that list, it was like the Hawks, Nets. It was a lot of the bottom teams.
Yeah, Nets, Mavericks, OKC, Hawks, and Bulls.
Okay, yeah, so you have 4 tanking teams in that top 5. Why do those teams not get calls? Just because they're bad, they don't get calls? To me, that's an issue. And the OKC thing, that kind of makes sense because how many times have we heard them complain about not getting calls?
Yeah.
So that's concerning. I think the NBA will have to look into that. There has to be a conversation with the referees because that kind of stuff, to me, it's not good. I don't like stuff like that where there's a clear showing of a discrepancy.
Yeah, I mean,
a clear bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, and it sucks. But Jack said, like, in a way, it makes you feel happy and sad at the same time because you're like, all right, at least I'm not crazy. Like, I've been complaining about the refs for like a while, and like now I don't feel like I'm being biased or stupid about it because statistics are back up. And then other end of the spectrum, it's like Jack mentioned, Nets could probably have a few more wins. Does it matter in the big picture? Maybe not, but in terms of like their internal confidence and culture, I think it would have helped, especially some of the wins would have come against, well-known teams like the Raptors or the Celtics. So, but moving on from there, talking about a young team that has improved since January 7th, the Los Angeles Lakers are 16-7, 8th in the league in offensive rating, 10th in the league in defensive rating, 6th in net rating, 4th in rebound percentage, 10th in true shooting percentage, and 4th in pace since January 7th. So this Laker team right now is playing like a playoff team since January 7th. What are your thoughts on them?
These guys are just really good at basketball, and they're a good cohesive team unit. I think the Josh Hart injury hurts a little bit in terms of their depth. Julius Randle's playing really nicely. For all the hate that we've shown to Lonzo Ball, he's a key cog in terms of their success. So since the start of January, the Lakers averaged 5 more assists per 48 with ball on the court. They also averaged 6.7 more points, 3.3 more steals, and 6 more rebounds per 48 with him playing. And their shooting percentages go up to almost 51% compared to 46.6% when he sits. So I think Lonzo Ball's been a key part of that, and he's low key having a nice end to the season when a lot of sort of rookies hit that rookie wall. They had winning records in January and February, the first such stretch that they've had since March and April 2013. So in fact 5 years since that's been the case. So they're building nicely. They've got some nice young talent. Brandon Ingram, I think he's getting a lot of hype and with due course, with good reason. So there's some good things happening at Staples.
They've been a hot team, without question. They obviously struggled a little bit when Isaiah Thomas first came over. Lonzo Ball, I still stand by the fact that he's not going to be a superstar in this league. I just don't think he's going to be a superstar. But I think he's going to be a very good player. I think he's going to make multiple All-Star games because he does everything extremely well to this point already. He rebounds, he passes. His defense is a lot better than I expected coming into the year. I don't know if you guys saw the highlight of Wade hitting the over the backboard shot on Lonzo. But I mean, realistically, good defense. Lonzo played really good defense. It was just a really dumb shot that went in. Not a dumb shot. It's a Wade shot. It went in. Better offense. But to that point, his 3-point shot has been what has been huge since he's coming back from injury. It's, he couldn't shoot a lick before he got hurt. He's back now, and he's hitting threes consistently and effectively, which is going to be huge for Lonzo to be successful long term. And then, like you mentioned, Jack, guys like Julius Randle. Julius Randle a month and a half ago wasn't supposed to be on this team anymore.
Which is funny.
He was basically out of LA, and now he's back to being a core piece for the future because of his play at the small ball 5. So he's completely brought himself back into the future for LA. Brandon Ingram, for me, he's a little bit too inconsistent as of right now, but he's still growing. He shows glimpses of being really good. Isaiah Thomas against Miami Heat the other night played his best game this entire season. I think we can agree. He was finally shot over 50% from the field, had 20-plus points. He actually looked like Isaiah Thomas. So that's a plus for them, even though he's probably gone at the end of the year. Like you said, Josh Hart getting hurt, that kind of sucks. But as a whole, the Lakers right now, they're playing as that young team that, is showing growth, which is all you want to see from the Lakers.
Yeah, you mentioned Ingram's numbers. In February, he averaged 18 a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, a block, a turnover, shot over 50% from the field and 50% from 3. He was only taking 2 threes a game, but still. And Randle, 19 points a game, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 58% from the field. So both those guys had huge Februarys, and that's just a big boost for the Lakers. Do you think the recent play of some of these young guys will make the Lakers feel a little bit calmer when it comes to the offseason, being like, we don't need to get a star and we can kind of just let these guys grow?
Yeah, I think that the younger guys that we mentioned, Nick, are almost set. I think Julius Randle is still a piece that could be moved, and I think he's showing value. I still question his fit in the modern NBA as a stretch 5, so to speak, because he doesn't really have that range. He's not elite defensively, so he's sort of just an old school guy who's fitting in well and is doing his best skills at an elite level. And I mean, he's going to fit wherever he goes because he's going to be able to show something. It's just the question of where he fits going forward and how valuable he can be. I think that the Lakers would still look to move him if they could get someone like a Paul George or a LeBron James if they have to trade him or create some space. But at the same time, I'll pose a question to you guys because Brandon Ingram and Ben Simmons were the top 2 picks in 2016. Who would you rather have going forward, Simmons or Ingram?
Simmons.
Yeah, I was gonna. This isn't a question, Jack, is it?
No, I just wondered because it's something that's been pondered. I mean, Simmons for me, the debate about him not being Rookie of the Year for me is like, I love Donovan Mitchell and I love watching him play. He's one of the most exciting players, let alone just a rookie. But Brandon Ingram, everyone's talking him up to be a possible, Kevin Durant light. And we're seeing, some nice sort of moments from him, in terms of his passing. You mentioned his stats there, Nick. Some nice passing stats. But, obviously Ben Simmons, doesn't have a 3-point shot. But at the same time, his ceiling is huge. And I would be surprised if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year. So, I'm
all for Ben Simmons. I think people underrate him in the sense of what he can do on like all terms of the floor. And Brandon Ingram, his rookie year, was shooting terrible from 3. Yeah. So Simmons has plenty of time to add a 3-point shot. I mean, I think the vision and just the ability of like Ben Simmons being so much of an athletic freak. Obviously, Ingram is in his own way being a physical freak with the length and all that. But I think Ben Simmons I'm really high on him, and I would take him definitely number 1 over Ingram.
His defense as well. Like his defense has been, his ability to switch, almost 1 to 5. He is a physical marvel in the way that LeBron James is. He's stronger
than you think, too. I think that's one thing that people are underrating for him. He's not like a frail kid. Ben Simmons has some size to him, and he's only going to get stronger.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that like he's like 15 pounds heavier than like Karl Malone and Kevin McHale. And like this is a guy that's playing point guard. Yes, he's 6'10", but he's a physical marvel in every sense of the word.
No, I agree with both of you guys. I think Ben Simmons by far is a better player. He's definitely more all around. For me, the Rookie of the Year debate, to me, it's different. I'm still on Donovan Mitchell. But, last night I watched the Hornets-Sixers game. I mean, and Ben Simmons, for the most part, there's not very many people that can guard him or even lock him down. He's got the same kind of Antetokounmpo start to him. He's got a complete package game. The only thing he lacks is a jump shot. And we've already seen Antetokounmpo's game develop without a jump shot to this point, and he's already 5 years into his career. Ben Simmons is just 2 years first year into his career.
Yeah.
So I think there's a ton of growth still that's going to happen for Ben Simmons. Brandon Ingram is solid. I think the Kevin Durant comparisons need to stop because I don't think he'll ever be near Kevin Durant. And if that's what people are expecting, then they're always going to be let down. Because I don't see Brandon Ingram ever averaging more than 24 points per game at best. I just don't see an electric scorer. I don't think he can be the man of the team. And that's not saying he's not capable of being one. I just see Brandon Ingram as a 2 or 3 option on no matter what team he's on. I just don't see him ever being, the lead dog like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and they've been playing him a little bit at point guard too, so working on his playmaking. Who knows what they want to do with him. I think Ingram will have a great career too as well. But moving on to OKC, a team filled with a lot of stars, and they've had an interesting February. When 6-6, they had wins against Golden State, losses against the Lakers, the Mavs. I mean, not a loss against the Mavs, but a close win, I think, in overtime. Sacramento, they just squeezed one away. Paul George has been good in February. Melo, on the other hand, 13 points per game, 36% from the field, not averaging over 1 assist, 1 steal, or 1 block, which I thought was a really interesting thing since he's not doing a lot of scoring. He's not impacting in other ways.
Yeah, since the All-Star break, the OKC have been quite shaky. Their record's been nice, 4-1, but those wins have come against the Kings, the Magic, the Mavericks, and the Suns. 4 of probably the worst teams in the NBA. And they've won those 4 games by a combined 19 points. So they're not certainly lighting the world on fire. I think Westbrook's shooting has been something that has been really bad. He's shooting 33% from the field and 11% from 3 since the All-Star break in those 5 games. Paul George's shooting has gone down since the All-Star break as well. He was shooting 47% from deep before the All-Star break. Since then, he's shooting 26%. Yes, it is a small sample size, but it is worrying because Paul George, without the shot, it doesn't allow the spacing that they want, especially when Carmelo Anthony has just been, absolutely average, to say the best, throughout the entire season. Since Robeson's injury, he's shooting 36% from the field and 31% from 3. So their big 3 need to step up if they want to get some momentum going into the postseason, because there's no assurance that they're going to be going into the postseason unless they lift their form, because it's certainly a tight race out in the West.
Watching last night, the Thunder versus Suns, obviously they had that close win against the Kings a few nights ago. The Thunder are one of those teams that for some reason plays down to their talent.
Wizards like.
Yeah, they play down to their talent. They play up to their talent. We've seen them have 2 out of 3, 2 great games against the Warriors. We've seen them blow out the Cavs. And in every big win they've had, there's been a few things that happen. Westbrook is either close to a triple-double and efficient. Paul George is efficient and, scores 20-plus points. Steven Adams has a double-double. And Melo is efficient. Melo doesn't have to score 20 points. Melo can score 15 to 20 and be an efficient player on this team. In the round table we have coming out for OTG, my breakout player for the second half was Carmelo. And I picked Carmelo because this OKC team needs Melo. And I don't think that's, they actually rely on Melo a lot more. They need to rely on Melo a lot more than they have currently. And what I mean by that is, you have Westbrook and Paul George. They are consistent. Pretty much on any night, what you're going to get from those 2 guys. Steven Adams, double-double, again, consistent. But then you look at the rest of the team, there is no other option you can trust on that team.
Come on, Corey Brewer, your namesake.
Okay, well, he just got in town, so you got to give him a week to get, up to date with the system and everything.
He's trash anyway.
Right. The tone in which you said that was great. But yeah.
Just complete disrespect.
So that's an issue. And for me, Melo has the opportunity, if he can just take advantage of it and break out of this shooting slump that he's been in for a majority of the year, he just needs to play within the offense. There's still too many times I watch a Thunder game and Melo takes at least 4 or 5 terrible, not thinking shots where he goes, I haven't shot in a while, I'm going to put up a shot. Or he's highly contested and he tries to do a fadeaway. And then he misses all the wide open shots he takes. Melo has to just be efficient. Melo needs to get back to, I don't even know. I don't really have a solution to this point, but Melo has to be the guy to change his current play for this team to be successful. Or like you said, Jack, the playoffs are not a lock for them as of right now. And Westbrook and Paul George and Adams may show up, but, it's either going to be Melo, Raymond Felton, or Jeremy Grant that needs to step up. And I'm going to put my money on Melo.
See, I disagree, Kory. I think it's not up to Melo. I think Melo's doing what he's doing because he's a third piece. I think what you mentioned earlier about the fact that Russell Westbrook will generally average a triple-double in a good OKC win. He needs to do that. I think Paul George needs to be the best defensive player on the court and nail 45% from three. You need to have your two best stars. Steven Adams is one of the best rebounders in the league today. The fact that he's averaging more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds is absolutely staggering. But that's another thing for another day. But I think it comes more down to their star players. They're two, 1A and 1B in terms of driving their success. And the fact that in these wins against trash teams, for lack of a better word, for tanking teams, they need to be better. They need to be destroying these teams. They need to be, getting some momentum. So when they're coming up against better competition, you can't just flick a switch. Kory mentioned the fact that they've won 2 or 3 against the Warriors. When it comes to playoffs, I don't think the Warriors are going to be really scared in a 7-game series. They might lose 1 or 2, but ultimately they're going to grind it out and get the win easily. I think if they have some momentum going into the postseason, that's when they might be a bit feared. But right now, there's teams like Portland who are outplaying them as well. The Timberwolves, in the absence of Jimmy Butler, are doing okay. The Spurs are waning, but they're still above them. So there's plenty of teams who are outperforming the Thunder, and it comes down to their stars to me that they really need to step up.
Well, you make a point, too. They're going to play, I think, Portland within the next
That's
week.
Gonna be a heck of a game.
I think their next game is against Portland.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see what the Red Hot Trailblazers and Damian Lillard, who's been a complete I don't even know how to a meteor or comment. He's just a scorched earth right now. Guy's been incredible.
Post All-Star break is just like his thing every year, because
saves himself.
Gets snubbed or something. Just a quick point about OKC. You guys mentioned the fact that they have to play these close games down to the wire against bad teams. These are games that you want to get those big leads and get some minutes for your squad. Get some easy rest for them. And that's the next team we're talking about, the Toronto Raptors, kind of getting slept on a little bit, 44-17, number 1 in the East, 9-1 in their last 10. One thing that they're doing that I think is really flying under the radar is they're resting Lowry a little bit. He's only playing 32 minutes a night. DeRozan's minutes are down a touch as well. They have a lot more depth on this team. What are your thoughts on the Raptors, and why doesn't anybody talk about them?
I think that we had a period where we were, Nick, and then everyone just sort of been like, okay, well, we know we're not really going to bother speaking about them until the playoffs come because, we know that this Toronto team has been, outstanding in the regular season for the past 4 or 5 years. Larry and DeRozan have been outstanding. But the coaching of Dwayne Casey, and I'm sure there'll be a roundtable coming out soon in the coming weeks via Kory and on OTG Basketball, has been one of the probably the coach of the year. And I think looking back on a lot of people's picks, no one would have said that Dwayne Casey would have been coach of the year coming into the season. There was talks of obviously this revamped system where the offense is a lot more free flowing. Their bench has been the best in the league by a country mile. I think their net rating, yes, they do. They have the best net rating in the league at 9.2. They're just feasting on units, whether it's Fred VanVleet, whether it's Jonas is playing with the second unit, whether it's Jakob Poeltl. They're getting some CJ Miles. They're just getting some great quality production. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's been said, it's been done to death in the sense that the rotations do shrink. But I don't think they necessarily have to for the Toronto Raptors. If you're doing something that's getting you success, why change it? Yes, you scout the team over and over and over again, and the teams are going to be a lot more playoff ready, and the pace will slow down. But like you mentioned, Nick, the lessened minutes for guys like DeRozan and especially Larry, who has been gassed in the playoffs, and we've seen that. We saw Harden, that happened to Harden last season due to his elevated regular season minutes going for that MVP against Westbrook. So I think Dwayne Casey is showing some masterful tactics in how he's, playing his guys and how he's getting the most out of everyone from 1 down to 11. I think they have like 11-man deep rotation. They've been great. I think they're 4th in offensive rating, 4th in true shooting. Jakob Poeltl has the 4th best true shooting percentage in the league. Jonas Valanciunas is now shooting threes. This team has been great, and they've always been one of my favorite teams, the Raptors. I think I've mentioned this early on the outlet when I first started. I got some hate for it, but I just love Toronto, the city. I've been there once. I loved it, and there's something about them. I love the Drakes.
Love the Drakes.
God's plan.
Fantastic song and fantastic music video.
Yeah, that was cool.
But the Raptors have been great. They've been fantastic. They are the best team in the Eastern Conference as of right now. They're better than the Celtics, whose offense is wishy-washy. The Raptors get contributions up and down. Like you guys mentioned, Fred VanVleet's been really good for them. Delian Wright's been good for them. Valanciunas, who was basically unplayable in the past, is playable again. Serge Ibaka, who looked as if his birth certificate was fake and he was, 3 years older, actually looks his age again. DeMar DeRozan found out how to shoot threes and play make. Kyle Lowry doesn't have to play 40 minutes a game. He can actually take some time off and rest for the playoffs for once. He might not actually be hurt for the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. So who knows what that could do for the Raptors. Dwayne Casey, who coming into the year was probably on the hot seat if this team didn't make a deep playoff run. Well, now this team is set to make a deep playoff run. TJ Miles was a three-point shooter this team desperately needed Damari Carroll to be, but Damari Carroll never was. Norman Powell has blossomed a little bit. OG Anunoby, I don't know if I said that right, but he's been really good for them as a defensive stud. I think he sprained his ankle a couple of days ago, but he's been good for them. This team has been really solid. They haven't had any major injuries. Knock on anything around me. They've been good. And as of right now, there's not a team in the East that can beat them in a 7-game series. There's teams that can give them trouble, but I've watched this team blow out the Celtics. I've watched them blow out the Cavs. And as of right now, they just look like a team that has bought into a new system, and they're all playing for each other, and that's winning basketball. And that's what the Raptors have right now. And I think it kind of gets slept on because the Raptors are always a team that's solid and then plays bad in the playoffs. Well, this year, they've been solid, and there's no reason to think this team won't play good in the playoffs.
Well, I think the system change is the biggest thing, and I think that's why people sleep on them is, in your head, you're like, all right, the Raptors are doing good. They're doing good. But they're doing good for a different reason this year. They have a lot of depth, and like Jack mentioned, rotations do shorten a little bit, but it does give Dwayne Casey a lot more tools. He has the options to bring out different guys if he wants to because he can trust them. He's done minutes for them in the past. So I think the bench unit could be a big plus for them. And Lowry only playing 32 minutes. I think most seasons he's playing around 35. He's even logged like 37 in a season. That will be big if he can stay healthy, like Kory mentioned. So Raptors are definitely an intriguing team. If you had a guess right now, what is the % chance the Raptors could end up in the NBA Finals?
Look, I'm going to go straight to the stats, Nicholas. I'm going to go straight to 538. I wrote it down in my notes. They've projected to finish with a 60-22 record, and they have a 55% chance of making the finals. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to give it a 60%. I reckon they're for me, a better than 50-50 chance of making it. The Cavs have LeBron James. Yes, he is LeBron James, and I think but at the same time, LeBron is human. At some stage, he's going to have to show his humanness, or he's just going to have to come out and say that he's an alien, have this huge press conference.
Cyborg.
He has to be. He has to be like, he has to be part of like Marvel's Avengers. Like LeBron James gets like his own spin-off movie because he's just not human. But I think, I'm going to give them a 60% chance because I'm really liking these Raptors. I've always been a huge fan, and I think they're a real chance going into the finals. I think they've got a great shot.
So I'm just going to give you my finals prediction percentage for the top 3 teams between the Raptors, Celtics, and Cavs. So Raptors, I'm going to say 60% chance they make the finals.
Wow.
I'm going to say 25% chance for the Celtics and then 15% for the Cavs.
Oh, that's low.
I'm pretty amazed about I'm surprised you guys haven't gone 50% with the Cavs. They've been disappointing you a lot after post All-Star break.
They've been bad.
Yeah, I'm going to go I would go if I'm, adding on to Kory's. I'm going to 35% for the Cavs and 5% for the Celtics. I don't buy into what the Celtics are doing right now. I think when the playoffs come, like Kory mentioned earlier in the pod, they don't have the offense. Kyrie Irving can only do so much. Jason Tatum, a rookie, has been, up and down, and he's starting to hit that rookie wall a little bit. Al Horford is the guy that plugs all holes, but you're not going to go to him for a key bucket. I think, if they had Gordon Hayward, I would have had that percentage much higher and probably split it 20-20 with the Cavs. But the Cavs have LeBron James, who is a proven commodity in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that, this could change. We've still got 20 or so games to go into the rest of the season. The Cavs are playing okay. I still think they're figuring a few things out, figuring out those rotations. I like their depth as well a little bit more than I like Boston's depth. I think, they're a little bit more ready. I like the youth that they've got in Clarkson and Nance and Hood. These guys have got something to prove a little bit. So I think that the Cavs have that 35%. And yeah, for me, the Celtics, I think they'll be lucky to make it out of the East.
Interesting.
I think for me,
go ahead,
Nick. Go ahead. I was going to say, for me, I think the reason I have more stock in the Celtics right now is only because they play defense. Yes. For me, when it comes to playoff time, defense to me is one of the most important things. And we've already seen the Cavs kind of slipping back into their old tendencies on defense. I mean, they're not playing great defense at all right now. And then Tyronn Lue saying they need to simplify the offense. And then, they already play a pretty simple offense as it is. So that's kind of concerning to me. And guys like Rodney Hood and George Hill, those two guys are used to playing in systems. Like, they don't play freelance basketball. And the Cavs play a lot of freelance basketball. And they had those two big games before the All-Star break where, everybody was playing with a ton of energy. And like LeBron said, this wasn't going to be a quick fix. And I just think they have a lot more work to go before I say that they can actually, even make an NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily lost to the Nets on Tuesday as well. I think one huge issue glaring in that game in recent play is interior defense. The fact that they don't have anybody that can, lock it up inside.
I mean, Kevin Love coming back obviously isn't going to fix that by any stretch, but we underestimate this guy's an all-star.
You should give him a boost.
No, I agree, Jack. I tweeted about that. They are missing his offense because no one's even scoring above 15 besides LeBron at this point.
And I mean, it helps with the spacing as well. I think, it helps with the rotations in terms of their bigs, Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance. Neither of those guys can space the floor by any stretch. Kevin Love is by no stretch a rim protector, but yeah, he gives them that depth. I think a lot has been made of the Boston Celtics defense, and it's been amazing. But at the same time, I don't think that they can score 110 points against a Cleveland Cavaliers, because I think the Cavs and the Raptors are both superior offensive units. And to beat them, they're going to need to score 105, 110. And for that, I think for that to happen, Curry's going to have to score 35 on a regular basis. And he obviously has the capabilities of doing that. He showed us that in the finals with the Cavs and in the playoffs with the Cavs in the past. But he has no supporting cast outside of him. He doesn't have a Kevin Love next to him. He doesn't have a DeMar DeRozan and a Kyle Lowry. There's no 1A guy in Boston. Al Horford's going to get 15, 8, and 8, but that's really not going to offensively give you that juice that you need.
Well, a thing I can add to that is a guy like Greg Monroe. He can be a guy who destroys the Celtics.
He's been so bad, though. He's been so bad.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's still got to get adjusted. But I'm saying for a big man, like Nick mentioned, the Cavs' interior defense is just not good. So a guy like Greg Monroe, who doesn't play great defense, he can feast on a weak interior defense, which is kind of why. Oh, he can. Come on.
No, I agree that he can, and he's shown that. I think I question the fact, is he not NBA fit? Like, is he fit enough, like, right now? Nick and I mentioned the Brooklyn Buzz before. Like, Jahlil Okafor has had his moments where he doesn't look, ready. Doesn't look NBA ready. Greg Monroe, whether it's the fact that in Phoenix, that he wasn't being played to sort of preserve him and buy him out, whether that's had an effect on him, I raved about the signing. I thought it was huge, and I thought it was going to be a nice juice for them off the bench, giving some offensive punch. But I think he's pale in comparison. I think he's been absolutely really, really poor. I think, he's got some time to work it out, but, there's only so many games left until he really needs to find something.
Well, I think this is definitely a topic we will revisit on the NBA Outlet. But before we get out of here, guys, I got a quick game for you. It's going to be Guess This Player. So you're going to tell me who leads the NBA in this stat. Don't cheat, please. No NBA.com, no basketball reference. I know you, Jack. I know you, Kory. So
I'm on my dock. I promise.
I don't ever look at stats like that. Come on.
All right. Who leads the NBA in deflections per game?
Gotta be Paul George.
Correct. 4.3. All right. Who leads the NBA in defensive rating?
Rudy Gobert.
Jack, give you your choice.
Aaron Baines. I remember seeing
Aaron Baines. Yes, it is. I'm going to keep track of score for this. So 1-1.
Bainesy. That top knot, that Aussie top knot does me well.
I hope this is the best out of 7.
We got plenty. We got plenty. Who leads the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage?
Steven Adams.
Andre Drummond. Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Kory got that one.
You even said it before, Jack.
I know.
I know.
As soon as you said Steven, I'm just like, I gotta say a different name here.
17.1%. And like Jack mentioned, he could have a historical season.
So good.
Charges drawn, not per game, but charges drawn overall the whole season.
Is it
a player we have mentioned on the podcast today? I'll tell you that. That's a hint.
Is it Draymond Green?
No.
Oh man.
Eastern Conference.
Is it
Al Horford?
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. But Jack already got his guess, so we're treating this like Yes Network.
Oh,
sorry, Jack. All right. Assist to turnover ratio.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Correct.
Yeah, I knew it.
I was always going to get that. If I didn't get that, I would have been fired from the
what's the score right now? 2-2?
Yeah, 2-2. True shooting percentage.
Stephen Curry.
Yes.
I was on it today. I was on NBA stats early today, writing an article, so I saw it. I didn't cheat, but I do my research.
Woo! Screen assist a game.
Draymond.
Al Horford.
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams. That makes sense.
Contested twos per 36 minutes.
I said Joe Ingles.
I'm going to go Ricky Rubio.
Jack, I'm super disappointed in you on this one.
Oh, it's Amari Carroll.
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, right. That's interesting.
All right. Contested threes per game.
James Harden?
No, not taken defensively.
Defensively. Okay. Contested threes per game. Who's perimeter defense? Trevor Ariza?
Kory, who you got?
Klay Thompson.
Kory, disrespecting your dude, Victor Oladipo.
Oh, really?
Oh, dips. Fun dip.
Yeah. And that wraps it up. So Jack won this contest 3-2.
What do I win? Yes. NBA fans, I deserve an extra 1,000 followers. Follow me.
That's what you get, Jack. A shout out right there. Subscribe to JBT. Subscribe to the Brooklyn Buzz. Follow Jack on Twitter. And that's what he gets for this win right here.
At the J-Man JBT, hit me up. Slide my DMs. Do a JR.
And a little plug too. 3-5 this Monday. Full Access Hoops is making its first return.
Back, baby!
So plenty of pods to listen to on OTG. Make sure you check them out. As always, thank you listening to NBA Outlet. Thank you guys for hopping on. And you can catch us on iTunes, Block Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, and Google Play.